All right, and we are live with SEO Collective. Woo, 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 woo. Hello, everyone. Hi. Hi. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. This is our June SEO meetup. And it's really, really nice to see all of your faces here. Really, really friendly faces. We actually did have like 50 people RSVP tonight. And I've also just realized that at 7 o'clock, the door is kind of slammed shut. So if anyone is running late, RIP, my bad. You snooze, you lose. All right, let's go a little slideshow on this bad boy. I was prepared, but I couldn't figure it out in time, so whatever.
Ever tried turning it on and off?
No. Alrighty. I just want to acknowledge just before we start that we are on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. Sovereignty was never ceded, and so I just really want to recognise elders past, present, and future. Thank you. A little bit of housekeeping just before we kick things off. Usually I have some music in the background, so I'm just trying to get my own natural rhythm in it. But we just want to say thank you very much to SEO Gaming for having us. It is just awesome to be here in this space and a little nice little permanent home for us here on Collins Street. And that's really, really awesome. So just want to say, we do want to be COVID safe and things like that. I am technically the COVID officer, so please don't sneeze and cough on people. That's not really nice. And also just be, exercise, normal caution and things like that. So we don't have to wear masks now, which is awesome. Just want to also say that, a little bit of just a running sheet for tonight as well. Nice little 7 o'clock start. We're going to go through some SEO news, algorithm updates, more trends and things like that are happening in our industry with the wonderful, the lovely, enigmatic Saijo George. Yeah, that's a good applause. And then, of course, who we're here for tonight? We're here for Kavit Shah, who's been, how long have you been messing, man?
Since 2005.
2005. So we are really, really blessed to have him share his expertise with us tonight for a really, really amazing presentation. Of course, if you've ever met him before, he is a really lovely person. And of course, he's got just so much experience underneath his belt. I was reading some old interviews of you, going back to like when you were having a chat with Dan Petrovic as well. So it's so great to have you here. Thank you so much for being here with us. Just continuing on the housekeeping as well. Sorry, I'll just go to this first because I do want to mention that we have a sponsor here tonight. But if you do need to go to the bathroom, the women's toilets are located on this level. We are on level 2. If you need, there is a code which you will need. Then that is the code there. But it's also, there's also a nice little laminate as well. Just take a photo on your phone. Like if you're leaving it to last minute like I usually do, that's so handy. Men's toilets also are on the level below. Don't do what I did, which was try and walk all the way up the stairs because those stairs are really, really deceiving. Just take the elevator; it's so much easier because it's kind of like it's not just going down; it's actually going down and then it does this thing where it's just like.
Don't go to ground floor walking. It's like four levels, not 2.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Kind of like the Hogwarts stairs, keeps moving around.
Yeah, it's surprise exercise. It's my least favorite exercise. So also the code that is there as well. So again, laminate at the door, take a photo. Hell yeah. Like I was saying, we have our I would like to say second because SEO Gaming has been a lovely home and they don't mind us coming here and using their space. But I would really love to invite the lovely gentleman from Paxis Recruitment.
Thanks, Nick. This is my colleague, I'm Darren Verland. I'm the state manager for Paxis. For those who's aware of Paxis or what we do or been in contact by Alex or one of the two.
It's fine, my job.
Look, Paxis is probably the oldest recruitment company in Australia. We've been around about 45 years. typically across that tech space. We have moved more into the digital side of things and moved more into digital marketing and SEO and performance marketing, etc. But look, just wanted to thank the guys for having us here tonight. You know, sometimes recruitment could be a bit of a dirty word because it's about finding people jobs and hunting and pulling people out of organisations, etc. But look, to me, it's all about the network. We're here to be a part of this network, and hopefully we can help in some capacity, whether it's for our customers or through giving you some career advice or whatever it might be. Please reach out. Look, there's no compromising as far as how we do it. We're all above board and trying to be ethical as far as that goes and helping people in their careers. So, look, I've been doing this 26 years, and people that I've placed, they're my best friends or my customers or whatever it might be. So, thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And again, like the food and the beverages are thanks to these wonderful people. So I'm now hopping wine. So thank you very much for that. Alrighty. So on to the fun part. We've had a lot of things that has happened in the month of May. And I'd really love to welcome to the stage, Saijo George.
Thanks, everyone. So we'll be kind of going through the news. If you have questions, just, yeah. So if you have questions, just raise your hand and we'll kind of go through that, yeah. So I run a small newsletter called TLDR Marketing. So if you guys want to follow that, just head out there and you can sign up. So you can just scan the QR code, which I'm guessing like everybody's familiar with, and get the newsletter. Is anybody scanning? Hold on. I'm guessing that's cool. So we'll start with like the news about Bill. I'm guessing like if you work in the SEO space, you might have heard about this. He was a great person in the SEO world. He used to dissect patents and post about it online. So in a very easy to understand way. So we kind of lost this guy, and it will be a big loss to the SEO industry, I think. Show of hands who kind of knew him, like not personally, but at least kind of seen his body work. So that's like what, 50% of the room. So I don't think there's anybody else like Ron. So there's nobody else who does what he does. So it's kind of really, really sad to kind of see him kind of go. So yeah.
Just to add to that, I just want to like actually just join in because I'm just like that.
Yeah.
But of course, Bill Swolsky was the canary in the mine shaft. He was the person that would go through all the Google patents before they'd even been released, and was smart enough to go through and actually understand what they were talking about. Now, with his passing, I don't actually know anyone who can do what he does. Like, it's actually amazing what he could be able to do. And like you were saying,
just also like the bare basics. You kind of read his one page that you kind of understand like 80% of the things that you need to know about that patent, I guess. And he makes it so like he makes it look easy. Like, but if you kind of go in and look at the patent itself, you'll have a headache. It's like really complicated, but he used to make it so easy. So.
And it's incredible because he would be talking about things that would come literally, a year later.
5 years later. He talked
5 years
about,
later.
about knowledge graph stuff like in 2013 or 2015. And it wasn't until recently it's actually become popular.
And it's insane because, of course, like 2014 was when Google moved away from Freebase.
Yeah. He was like, oh, this might be used for Freebase. I'm like, no, it became knowledge graph. Oh, it's huge.
And that was the very first time that we even thought about that.
Yeah, he thought about that.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Sorry. He thought about that because no one else was. So having him is a massive loss. And we just really want to take this moment just to pay our respects to a massive time in the industry.
So I'm guessing like if you kind of follow Google around, like you might have seen that they've kind of introduced this concept of multi-search. So now, like I think 4 or 5 years ago, people used to talk about like voice search as a big thing, but never really caught on. But multi-search, which kind of uses Google lenses, I think that's probably a big deal because you kind of search for things visually. So if you see something like, you know, plant, for example. You can take a photo of that and then ask things like, you know, where can I find it nearby? And it'll bring up, you know, places like Bunnings where you can kind of get that.
Exactly.
So that is really, really cool. And I think like it will have a lot of option too compared to voice search. So that is something new that Google has introduced, and it's slowly starting to kind of come through. You can do this search from desktops, mobile devices, and whatnot.
Because Google essentially just wants to be like your little pocket assistant now. It's like, oh yeah, like, oh, you really like pad thai, like, yeah. So there's like all the, like everyone else, but these are all the places that actually have pad thai. And if you go to like the Google Lens on the next slide, it's really cool. I mean, obviously they've got chocolate stuff like that here, which is, you know, again, I think most people's personal favorites. But you can actually like just use that and type in and be able to see like, oh, okay, like I want like pad thai with prawns. Like, where are the best rated restaurants near me that actually have pad thai with prawns? Like, what is like the community saying around that? Like, that's so awesome. So, like, for that to be able to like be a part of like how Google search is starting to evolve, like that's kind of insane. Like, we're going to have that information literally within our pockets. And of course, like for a lot of in-house retailers and for people that are looking to travel as well, well, yeah, you can be able to go and see this maybe in Morocco. I don't know, it's really awesome. It's probably more for local search, but again, I just think of the travel people learn.
One thing does concern me about this because, like, I think we'll kind of lose a lot of keyword info and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's no way to
Take management. So, like, you take a photo. It's not like Google will tell you what the photo was, and then, like, you know, what do you, like, when somebody visits your site, what was the search query?
Yeah.
You didn't know.
So I have a question. How long till they insert ads?
Well, they're rolling this out at the end of this year. So probably not long after where they're like, oh, okay, we need to.
You want to take a day or two?
It took a long time for Google Maps to kind of come out, so really
Yeah.
ads.
That's how to get that.
Yeah. So who
Oh, no,
knows?
it's free forever. It's fine.
Lies.
But, like, you can't expect they'll throw ads on it. So.
Remember when they used to slogan was don't be evil?
Hey, I was surprised with like free listings on Google Shopping, so you know.
Do you want to take this?
That was the
Excited by this?
Oh yeah. I'm kind of proud of this because like I put a lot of the videos and stuff on this. So Immersive Maps, again, this is something that Google's going to be coming out with. Again, with the idea like that they want to be little pocket assistants now. So as we can see, this got a lovely like 3D image view of London. Now with this, again, like you're thinking about like, I want to be able to see the street view. Well, now this is like looking to evolve where they can really make that street view into a nice interactive, immersive experience. I have a friend who has a boyfriend. They like each other. That's great. I love that for them. But whenever she wants him to go away, she just gets him to like look up stuff on Google Maps, and then that will be his entertainment for 4 hours. Now imagining that guy now looking at this, as you can see, it's really starting to bring in like that 360 experience and bring that into the Google Maps realm, so that when you're not only just looking at street view, you can just scroll and just see further down the street. You might be actually being able to go into a department store and to go through the levels and be able to see like, oh, yeah, awesome. I'm in David Jones now. That's great. I'm in the makeup section. I might go upstairs to the women's fashion. Oh, awesome. They've like done all these nice new changes. Love that. Cool. Awesome. I might take my parents there to be able to go shopping because they've done a nice little new renovation. Awesome. So that's the new stuff.
And one of the things that they announced with this was you could go into like historical view as well. So like you could look at Flint Street right now and go back like a year and see how it kind of looked like. So I think they go all the way to 2012, if I'm not mistaken. So that's something.
I didn't know that. So 2012, there we
I
go.
think so. I think it's 2012. Don't quote me on that.
I reckon my mate's boyfriend might know.
We had a question.
I was going to ask, like, for the internal stuff, it's going to be similar to how they do the in-house, like get a Google certified photographer to come to a business, take photos. Like, what's the technology
don't really need a Google certified photographer
anymore.
Oh, sorry. Do you mean just like the street
Yeah,
view?
so for example, if you were
Yeah.
to do, like, say for example, your Chadston, and if you were to do inside of Chadston, you have to get like a Google certified photographer, they come by, go to the store, they actually had an internal Google Maps thing.
That's a really
Yeah.
Just
good
use
question.
Android devices, right? Like everybody has a camera.
I
I'm just kidding.
was about to say, because like,
Do the in-house
Yeah.
Google Maps thing, like the actual internal.
Yeah.
So like, the way like, whatever the train station in New York's called and all that, that's how it's done. And basically I noticed because they, Google were pitching it to Chadston quite enough. So like, what would the process be to like get that really cool imagery? Like,
Not really sure. They did announce like a new like version of
like
their
a camera. Or
yeah,
like
so
whatever,
that would you could kind of
whatever
wear and
they
walk
need.
around.
It's
So I'm
like-
guessing people will be walking around with those
Yeah,
things.
it's not like Google My Business listing or whatever. They just get like a fancy phone or whatever. It's like AI shenanigans or whatever.
Too early to say, I guess.
yeah, I second that. Oh, I love this one.
So this is a new product that Google has announced. So apparently this will be a ranking factor for images as well. So when this kind of rolls out, you can mark up your images with schema markup, which tells like what sort of like, color tone the people have in that image. And Google will try and surface like, the worst sort of result for different queries.
And I love this one too, because you think about, whenever I see this sort of stuff, I think immediately to makeup. Just really wanting to be, someone who is not like, obviously I've got some variation in me, but also I'm not necessarily like white. And it's really helpful for me to be able to find things that are within a certain skin tone that I know to be good for me. Now, because of this, I generally do in-person shopping for these kinds of things because what I see online is never what arrives in the post. So with more variation around this, especially again for foundations and things like that, and things that are really kind of specific, I'm also thinking about like maybe just garments and things like that. If you are looking for that skin tone that will match your actual skin tone, this is a really great way that I think search is evolving to really start to improve this. And it's the expectation of site owners to think, okay, well, what are we going to do to make sure that we can be able to provide the markup within this so that we can have better results for our end customers?
There's still undertones as well.
They've only announced that like we don't know the technical specifications yet, so
So cool undertone, warm, neutral, like.
it's vivid.
That's
right?
a great question.
Like 56 shades of double that.
Yeah, I love that you worked in counter beauty because that means that you've learned so much about like the
I don't
industry.
wake up like the back of my head.
Exactly. But again, like that's a really good point. And I think at the moment, we're still very much, scratching the surface of what it could look like. But again, we're going through and we're understanding like how the user searches. If you're understanding that this is really what's really important for people, again, this is why influencer marketing works. Because people trust people who are in person there reviewing it, who might not be paid, so that they can be able to have a better result. Well, yeah, I mean that's the perception. That's the perception, like with small creators and things like that. Sorry. Well, with people like who are trolls like myself, I will look to like the smaller creators, and that's just my perception. So I might be projecting a little bit there. But that being said, I think like as search evolves, just again, like really making sure that you're hearing the user in these things and using the markups that like search is evolving to be able to provide to us will create better experiences that maybe your competitor's not doing.
So it comes towards the end of the year, I think that's what they said.
Yeah.
So Google has kind of cleaned up some of the image and video extension in sitemaps. So these are things that I'm guessing like generally people don't really use a lot. So they're kind of cutting those things out.
Many people use it like people who yeah.
Well, it's good because I think Google can go through and be able to understand a lot more with a lot more sophisticated algorithms, or at least they're saying that they can.
I think they want to move away stuff in the sitemap and make it all one page because it's kind of ridiculous to have like information of an image in a sitemap when it should be sold on the actual webpage.
Yeah.
I think for discovery, they still use it. Like,
Yeah.
They're kind of struggling with indexing things as it is,
Oh,
I imagine. So I don't think the sitemap is going away anytime soon.
Oh,
It's
but-
just that
yeah.
like little bits in
I
the
mean,
map.
like title and caption and all that. I think that should be solved by markup.
Yeah,
As opposed to, like in the XML format. I think the same thing with like robots.txt and like sitemap stuff to control the whole stuff. They really rather than all being one place.
I mean, this is just what Google says, you know, we can understand more about this. Yeah, trust us. We're Google, we know everything. Yeah, join us. But at the same time, like, so these things are being depreciated. So again, if you're using these to rely on that, I don't actually know whether this is going to be uniform for like for other types of search engines, for Bing, Yahoo.
It's just a Google thing.
Yeah,
for now.
it's just like if it was case scenario, just
No, as in
ignore it,
like
right?
whether it-
Like, it's
You
like
can still have it in there.
it's
It's
like
not
a-
going to error out or anything. It's just like
It's like a meta keywords tag or something. Just
Yeah.
ignore it.
Or like a rel like next and prep.
Well, I still
They're
stand
still
by.
respected by
I
other search
still
engines.
stand by that. Well, next is a perfect solution. Well,
We're going to down the rabbit hole. All right, we'll go to the next one. So
Oh,
in Search Console, actually no, sorry,
No,
I'll
no,
let
no.
you go.
No, go for it.
All right, I'll keep going.
Uh-huh.
All right, so in Search Console, and you know we're going to be getting to this with the algorithm update, but they're going to be adding a new indexation report, which I'm really excited about. With index like for video pages. So video content and things like that that is populated on the website can be able to actually have a look and see how search engines are crawling, indexing, perceiving what it's actually coming through here as. So that's really awesome. I love that they're doing that. I've kind of got a really blurry video, but like video pages are going to be populated here. So any videos that you can crawl and understand on your site will now start to be populated in this report. Very cool.
I think like Search Console has come a long way, like they give a lot of information. So if anything that they add in there is
yeah,
great.
I think that was gonna be important because like right now there's a big bias towards YouTube because YouTube Google understands the video, but like what else is also seen in the video, like what is before, or is there some other random embed? And Google's a bit like they're not perfect on that. So this report will actually show what works and what doesn't, and like what's the best platform for whatever for video or schema, and where people works and doesn't.
And I feel like they're going to really learn and start to like go hand with like Google MUM, which is like an acronym called Multimodal Unified Models, which is a fancy way of like an algorithm that's supposed to go through and be able to have all the images and videos and a lot more, much more contextual understanding of those things. And now we're even getting like reports in our GSE about it, so that's really cool. You have a question?
No, just one note on that. So now with GA4 tracking, you activate the enhanced tracking to track video engagement. So that kind of makes sense that now it's going to be.
That's a great point. That's an absolutely great point. GA4 is actually really good for looking at that stuff.
100. I haven't liked GA4.
No.
Yeah, so,
I know how to eventually switch, but
like out of the box, it sucks.
I just don't like that it's not an option.
We want landing pages.
Where's my bounce time?
Yeah.
Where's my transfer?
Yeah, so anyone in the room that doesn't know, you know, have looked in their universal analytics in Google Analytics for a little while. Of course, you'll see it at the very top banner that's as of June of 2023.
23, I think.
Yeah. Universal analytics, as we know it, how we understand it, is going to be depreciated, and they're not going to be taking in any historical data. So get it set up now, so you can get at least some year-on-year data. Yeah, it sucks. We all know it, but
My money's 6 months extension.
yeah. But also to like just start exporting out as much data from your current GA accounts as possible, just so you have it. You just never know when or why or whatever you might need. Just export everything.
Just install GA4, like start collecting data values, so at least you have a bit of time to come out. Like even though I hate it, I've kind of installed it on all sides because I know eventually we'll have to kind of switch.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's fine.
So Google will be starting to rewrite titles when you have in multiple languages. So previously, like especially in regional languages or like languages other than English, you might have like that like your title for the page in that language, and you might add on the one in English because it tends to rank better. But with the new update to Google, they will kind of strip out the English version. And what they look at is if the language that you have on the page, like the primary language on the page, if you have a title in that language, they use that. And even if you don't have the title in the primary language, they rewrite it. So
So this
it's pretty
is
much
based on the content of the page, not the language the searcher has said. Like they said
on
the
the
language.
page from what I understood.
Yeah.
So
okay.
if the page content is in that specific language, so they might look at the HTML markup.
Yeah.
Which one it is as well.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because, like, like if you're like searching in Japanese language, but you're counting like it's Japanese and English mixed content, will serve you like Japanese or English or like scenarios where.
So this will only work obviously on the search result page itself. When you
Yeah.
click through to the site, you might still see the mix because this is what Google runs on the results.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be long term.
I don't know if people were using this, but Google is dropping support for job training structured data. I don't think so.
I think it's lagging. Come up to me, Clark.
I did, I promise. I promise, I did. No. All right, come on. Turn it off and turn it on again.
Turn off, turn it on again.
Do you believe in? Oh, what the freak?
Is it screen work?
If someone's punking me right now, good on you, but please stop.
Did you lose your connection to TV, Nick?
I'm thinking that's probably the case. Oh, something's happening.
There we go.
All right.
Oh, yes.
There we go.
Hey.
Yeah, I think you might have like dropped out for a second or something.
Yep. I can't wait to get a new laptop.
Right.
So yeah, job training structured data. I don't think this has kind of like I haven't seen any results in Google with this, but like apparently they brought it out 6 months to a year ago.
Maybe for a job, like a job ad or like,
No.
like a training.
Job training. So this
So,
was
like-
announced like fairly recently, but didn't
Like-
work out, I guess.
Right.
So this is not like the job portal results that you get.
Yeah.
So this is like
it's not like we actually have training through markup, like when we do stuff training, it's actually specifically for the training.
training modules, yeah, courses, that sort of thing. Does anyone use Answer the Public?
Also ask them.
We have a winner. Right, so Neil Patel has acquired Answer the Public. So, like, I think for the last few years, it wasn't a great tool. Like, when it came out, it was amazing. But then, like, tools like Also Ask, those things have come out that works really well. So, if you're looking for an alternative, then, like, yeah, there are options out there.
Quite a lot of things though, like you
Who would
buy-
suggest?
He likes to buy things. He does. That's a factually-
I saw this post on Reddit where this guy was using like, a Python script to scrape people also ask questions and then use AI to write content and publish it on Google. So like, this will have like thousands and thousands of results. And he uses that for keyword research basically. So he was kind of explaining like how you get like, keyword data from SEMrush, Ahrefs, and all that. But whereas this, you kind of run this and then you go to the search console, Google can see everything that comes in, and then he uses that basically to write proper content on his websites.
Can you use that website basically as its own personal PDNs? It has highly relevant content for
You
like,
can.
Yeah.
Like he spun one up just like he was doing an AMA on Reddit, and like he was telling how it actually worked. He spun one off where I can maybe bring it up. Can we open up like a web link now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last
Going
week.
to the train.
On the train today.
So
So is it on Just Start? Basically, they're automating, just scraping all these people's questions. So you're getting like AI, like right response, I guess.
And then if it ranks, then they actually get a real get all the winners, I guess.
Yeah. So all these are like people also have questions, and like these are just images that they've kind of scraped as well from somewhere. I guess Unsplash or something like that. And this is AI-based content. So this is just AI content. So they just like write answers. Like if you read through that, some of them might not make sense.
Yeah,
But it's like decent enough, and Google kind of starts ranking them.
it's structured. Yeah.
Exactly. And what they do is they basically look for like results that has actual traffic, and then they put that on their website. So they're kind of using this as a keyword research kind of.
Yeah, because it's basically data mining GSC.
Yeah, basically.
So like they'll create the content and they'll plug in the API to get the raw keyword stuff and then feed it as more keywords. Oh, I mean, it's useful to get
Google has announced something called like checkout from Google. So this will work in like Shopify sites and Walmart in the US. And eventually, obviously, we'll have roll out other platforms and other locations. So when you kind of see something in Google, now you can actually click on checkout and it will kind of go into the retailer's checkout process directly without going to the web page and then going to adding to cart and all those extra steps. So this is Google's shopping graph kind of working, I guess.
Yeah, they said they were going to do this when they had that Google I/O thing, and I guess that now they're actually doing it. So they'll have to cut.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
for Walmart and Shopify sites.
It's easy to Shopify the Shopify that things are handshake.
So again, it might come to other platforms as well, but this is like, I'm guessing as like an e-commerce site, this will be great because people can directly purchase from search results. Another thing that they announced was like if you have membership or loyalty programs, you can add that in Google, like in free listings and in shopping ads as well. So like, you can't see the whole image here, but like it'll tell you like,
So would it be a schema thing or a feed thing?
free. Again, like US only for now, it will kind of probably roll out to other markets. You can like surface that information in here. So
Maybe like
Sephora
sign up
might say
URL.
like, when you buy 3 products, the 4th one is free or whatever it is. Or like, you get points towards your purchase. So like flybys, for example.
Alright, so it's probably like a feed item. You can add supplemental feed or URL.
Basically give you like, I think it's already live in the US. So you go like search for something like Target, you'll see like their loyalty program, what it kind of involves. It might tell you.
It's going to be the US, it's probably going to happen here.
Eventually, so this, they started showing ads within like local, like, the local part, or the location panel, I guess that's what I call it. So when you search for a business, for example, if you search funds, you will see actual products and you can start showing ads as well. So I'm not sure if they'll allow third-party ads to come up in that, but like, you can show your own ads for now, I guess. So I'm guessing like once third-party ads starts coming out, that will be fun time.
It's always feed shenanigans, Google shopping ads, all auto doing everything.
What do you mean auto doing it?
Like you just do your feed and there's like strip stuff everywhere. Like, you go to a map and have a Google shopping ad there. Yeah, pretty much. Just that life.
Okay.
Great.
If you're into 3D content and AR kind of features in search, like you can now start submitting it in Merchant Center, in Manufacturer Center. So this will be for manufacturers, not merchants exactly, but like you can like submit your 3D content and that will start servicing in search. Again, this is not live yet as far as I know.
So would it be like when you Google German Shepherd, you get that 3D German Shepherd, they can just point to that?
That's like a Google thing. I don't think anybody's supporting German Shepherd.
No, but like you could do something like an if it's augmented reality, you could do something like that. Like you get a couch and then you can place it in your room.
Something like that. So like IKEA could technically upload their catalog in 3D format.
So this
And when
one,
somebody searches for something, it will start coming up.
yeah, so this one is like a lot of interest to one of my clients, who you're going to be talking to.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But what they do is like they the like Australia's leaders in like septic tanks, water tanks, like rainwater tanks, industrial like chemical funded tanks, et cetera, et cetera. And what they've done is like they've used like a lot of AR to take like 3D modeling of all of their different tanks and all the different things you can be able to add and customize on that. And then when this is going live, not only can they be able to take all of those original formats and things like that, but you can also add it to to support there. Sorry, I said that for you. I'm so sorry. All right, moving on.
Moving on, we have Google like broad core update that landed on the 25th of May.
It's still going, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 weeks, I think that's it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, it usually takes like 1 to 2 weeks for like, especially a broad core updates to go all the way through. But this one's a really like when it's the first time rolling out, I was like, yeah, okay. But then like within a few days, it was actually starting to like really just start to shoot off and become something that was like, oh, actually, this is pretty significant. This is actually a pretty significant broad core update. I've seen this happen for a lot of my sites that have got this. And again, like I work on sites that are not just here in Australia, but over in the UK and in Uruguay and the US and one in Canada. And one of the things that I found from this, sorry, I'm kind of taking over a little bit, but I had a look at where the traffic was really increasing and also decreasing. I've got one client who is really quite slow to start adapting like Google EAT signals. And not to say that that's like a direct hinder and things like that. I've just really noticed that for them, a lot of things that again they are like wire, so your money, your life kind of sites. And for them, they have really not benefit from this because they don't have external links to validate some of the statements they have on their pages. They also don't have any relevant expertise related to the financial advice that they are giving to the users, the end users. And I'm just seeing them get completely wiped out by every other site that even just has a shred of these kinds of signals available on their sites. Similarly, on other sites that I've looked at that have had really, really great improvements, I like went through Search Console and I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like, where has this been? Where can I see this being attributed to? Is there any patterns of where I can see this? And again, this is why I got really excited about Google adding like a video pages report in GSC, because on all of the pages I could see, all of this had really, really amazing video content. And even with some of my clients that I have that I know they've got YouTube channels, I'm actually like taking their videos, grabbing the transcript, taking out all the timestamps, adding it onto their blog, marking it up with heading structures and internal links and things like that, and embedding the YouTube clip on their pages, because I'm just seeing this like as a bit of a pattern across some of my clients, that any of my clients that are having video content on their pages, having really, really great like image explainers, things that are actually really nice, really rich, diverse, these pages are performing a lot better than they used to year on year. And as I can see, and literally like as it's going through, I'm seeing this nice little uptick. Not just seeing this on one or two, I'm seeing this like on almost all of my clients. That I've seen these specific types of content, these specific types of pages. And when I check them in the SERP against them and the competitors, I'm just seeing those results finally start to come through. And that's awesome. That's really, really awesome. I got really excited about this.
Add video, basically.
Well, I just think, create a much richer experience. Work smarter, not harder. And if, like, for the client that I did that for, like, again, just taking their video content and actually putting it on their blog, and I was like, see, do this, but more, because I'm just one person and just trying to get the SERP to see them. Just keep doing that, be able to scale this, be able to do this, because you've already done all the hard work. I'm just putting the signals now on your website so that they're not just seeing it on YouTube. They're actually seeing it on your website and being able to load that back. Also on the YouTube, add the blog page now with a little nice little YouTube parameter so you can actually attribute clicks going to and from.
Most of the things that I've seen are like a small dip or like a small rise, nothing drastic. So
Yeah, but I just saw it on too many sites and I was like, oh, there's a bit of pattern here. Ooh, delicious.
Are all the videos like owned by the company or?
Yeah, they're created by the company,
Okay,
so
okay.
they'll have like their YouTube channel.
Because
They'll be creating those.
I think it's important.
Yeah, and even like with you know, one of like my really big enterprise clients, like it's funny, like the one blog that they have about like how to like properly set up a fish tank. This one has always historically done really well for them, but post the algorithm update, this one is like maintains like page 1 ranking, even though 95% of that content on that page is actually client-side rendered, so it can't really see anything below the video. Working through that working process. But anyway, but with that one, even that one saw a nice little uptick. So I was really happy with that one as well.
How many words is that
I don't remember.
A lot.
But again, like word count is not a ranking signal,
Yeah.
as you know, but like, again, it's something that like, the way that it's been laid out, like the video content is like right there in the VFR fold, and it's not been, it's been locally posted. So there's no like YouTube iframes or anything associated with that. But with that one, it's a really good video that goes through the step-by-step, so it's very clear, it's very explainable. And in the content, if people were to be able to read all of it, it's got like the step-by-step, and it's a really useful page. So again, that one's like performed really well historically. But again, I just saw that really nice uptick, which wasn't a hell of a lot, but it was still something that I saw against this one and all these other clients, like in different countries, specifically for this video content. So I was like, I love patterns. I love finding patterns. So yeah, I saw that from this update. And again, like EAT is always going to be a thing, whether it be your why and where, or like with a further thing of like every other different type of site, whether it be small business all the way to your big e-com enterprise level clients. But again, just really make sure that you're serving the best content to the user and you're not confusing them with a whole different bunch of signals or crawlers.
Anybody wants to add something to this that you've noticed?
Google is trying to combat the automated bot content just because someone's having a video, a quiz, or infographic. It's just like they're taking the time adding the unique content compared to someone's just putting in a bot content. So
Bot content still works well, so I don't think this update has kind of done anything in that space.
Did
So
you
it
say AI content? See, I feel like AI content, and this is pure opinion, not fact, not anything that I've seen or anything like that. But I feel like with anything that you can be able to scale that isn't human written, that isn't really there that has had that time, that care put in place to it, I always feel like the right answer is never the easy answer. And I think like even though we're in early days of having IA to be able to generate content at scale, Google is smart enough, will be smart enough to figure out what is human written and what is bot written. Because if you think about it, they were able to do that with translations. Anyone here do like translated content and things like that?
I don't. If you look at like the further away you get from English, the more the Wild West SEO becomes. So like you go to France, you go to Japan. Like Japan's basically like this. Like I don't think Google cares about Japan.
Well, Japan uses Yahoo.
No, like that, like the other, like basically it's like still like SEO like 2013 stuff like in Japan is great. But like basically, I've seen some really bad stuff since I've been in this job, right? And like content that's like god awful. So like I think Google every single update Google gets innovatively better. But I think that this is still trimming at the edges, and there's still people out there who are scaling on scale and getting results, who are doing really bad practice, but they're still getting results. And they're probably, and I haven't seen them lose during this algo update, so I don't know like how, like it's industry specific or it's something else. But really,
Yeah.
There will be like a bit of losers and winners, but like on a general scale, I don't think AI was like AI like bot content, like AI content, like that's like massively out there. It's like not much.
And I'm not saying that like that bot content right now is inherently bad. I just feel like right now we're getting away with it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
But like in the longer term, will we still get away with it?
So that's, like, I think that's a deal with all, like, license stuff.
There's been like we saw a massive change in our desktop performance. It was like a multiplier of the one.
Well, they have the desktop first, the desktop
Mobile
update.
only.
Well, mobile only indexing, but they had a desktop update,
Oh, the same
desktop page experience update.
time as this.
This is May 25th, but like the desktop one was February.
No, so this is as of this update.
Oh.
Mobile and desktop. It's like mobile and desktop. Just like-
Was it for specific queries or was it for like, because like sometimes queries just have different indexes during the middle of an algo update. So like I've known, like, because I'm tracking the same queries, desktop and mobile across like 30 different countries. And I noticed that like the same problems happen to different countries like 2 days later. So like they'll get the wrong page in the index for a bunch of them in like Brazil and Canada for this day. And like 2 days later, that's fixed, but it's happening to Japan and whatever. So like it could just be like the index is just being cooked at the moment.
Yeah, like it's an entire category on the site. That's taken.
Right.
That's been pretty complex. But we just did a whole lot of like almost like exact match and each of those pages, and I wasn't sure if that was
Is there a lot of difference between the desktop and mobile pages in terms of content?
identical. It's
Well, we
just
hope
if you
so.
look at the-
Is it only your website affected or would it have
No, this was just this one.
just
site.
so like all the competitors were the same, you're the only mover from
We
desktop?
had like a 5%.
Oh,
That
okay,
is
well, why
awesome.
complain?
But it's kind of like it's strange because I was like, is it the linking that did it or is it that? Because we had to do the inner linking, we kind of had to create some new content on those pages just to make it make sense.
I think one thing you have to remember every time there's an algo update is that Google does update its index, so it could be like something that you should have ranked for like a month earlier is finally kicking in. So like it's kind of like a refresh as well. So you can't attribute that to the algo update. It could just be cleaning up the index focus and stuff and re-establish things. So sometimes they just be updating and you just have it be winning at the end of an update, but it hasn't actually got to do with whatever was before update itself. Like whatever ranking factor they tweaked. It might just be your website deserves to rank. It just deserves to rank 2 weeks ago. It just happens to rank now.
And on that note, I think that's a really, really great place to start capping the news for May. Thank you so much, Saijo. Can't help it, I'm just such an attention holder. No. So I just would like to invite up to the stage now, Kavit Shah. So I really do apologise. We actually did kind of run a lot over time.
Algo maps.
I know. But a lot of things have happened, and again, this segment is really, really great. Just keep your finger on the pulse. So of course, we have here Kavit Shah.
Hi guys, thank you for coming and thanks for taking the time out. A few things from this stuff that I just saw. We actually tried a few of these things with the, the in-store photos and stuff that you're speaking about. We actually did that for a hack day with one of the teams where I got a friend who had a 360 camera. We went to a few post offices and took 360 photos of the post office and then connected dots for product. So it's like augmented reality shopping and stuff.
So awesome.
So that was something we tried 3 years ago. Probably should get back on it now.
Yeah, because it's all going to be brought into the map app.
Yeah, and Bill, I actually had the pleasure of seeing him speak at PopCon in 2013, and actually spoke to him at one of the networking events. So sad to see him go. Yeah.
All right, everybody, we are here for an absolute treat. Have a show, everyone.
Thank you.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
So a bit about me. Started SEO in 2005 in the Dungeons. Link building was my first role. Back when keyword stuffing and head tags used to work. So yeah, 16 years plus doing technical and content-based SEO. In between, went into paid search, did performance marketing. Didn't really enjoy it as much as SEO, so came back to SEO.
just switched jobs, probably 3 weeks in. Work for Bright, which is a fintech based out of Sydney, and they're all about the renewable space, climate change. You guys might have been seeing the news. Mike Cannon-Brooks, who was in a fight with AGL recently, so he's part of the board of Bright. So they're basically all about clean climate, all that stuff, good stuff. And yeah, so 6 years at Ozpost almost. And yeah, interesting journey there. And then 8 years I was at Census working on directory sites, doing different roles. And started my SEO journey at Melbourne IT with friends of James Richardson. Yeah, so back in 2005. Some of the biggest sites managed was Yellow Pages, White Pages, where it's about 25 million pages collective. Yeah, that was fun trying to do SEO, and that was very technical actually. Yeah.
So Gary Ish apparently reached out to you when Google was writing about census, and then you met him.
Yes.
What was that like? Like, what's he like? What
So-
was going on?
Funny story. Someone from our dev team actually put in a robots file for the staging, which was a disallow. And Gary wrote to me and he said, "Oh, have you guys done this by mistake?" So that's how I actually spoke to him. And then, when he came down to Melbourne, we actually caught up and talked. And that's one of the funny stories. So don't be surprised, it does happen at big companies. Some of the things, domain strategy. So that's started off when I was at Melbourne IT with James Richardson. That's some of the stuff I picked up. I did a lot more of it at Ozpost. So I was actually managing not just SEO, but the entire domain strategy across the enterprise. So I don't know if you guys have heard of the new .brand. Ozpost has its own .brand, which it runs as well. So it's managing the rollout of that and my business automation. So this was probably one of the big pieces at Ozpost. So for anyone that doesn't know, Ozpost actually has the biggest Google My Business account in Australia. So 4,500 listings. Yeah.
You still get those emails like, yo, listing, get this many.
I do, actually. But it's in the millions. So biggest piece for us was the hardest part of this was Christmas. The first Christmas I started, the team from Post Office Network came to me and said, "Oh, here's 600 post offices we need to update opening hours for." So, okay, cool. So that was 2 weeks of my life wasted. And then after Christmas finished, Jan, Feb, so mid-Jan, they come back to me like, "Oh, we need to reset those hours now because we're going to pull back." Because certain post offices participate in this extended hours, so people can pick up their packages before and after work. And so I was like, "Oh, I really need to automate this. I can't do this next year." And so I worked with one of the devs, and we actually built an API to then work through Google My Business and actually any updates that are done to our post office locator, which is the central source of data, all of that is seeded directly through to Google My Business every night for all our listings. So the only thing we couldn't do because of the old Google My Business API, which is now being changed, is we can't create new listings and we can't delete old. That's the only thing we were kind of managing. But aside from that, most of that got done. We had descriptions put on through the API for the entire lot, services, so all of that good stuff. Anyone know who this guy is? This
This guy is the OG of SEO.
You should be on
He's,
stamp.
huh?
You should be on stamp.
You should be. I should be understand. For those that don't know this guy, before John New and Gary, he used to run search. So I had the fortune of meeting him at PubCon in Vegas. Yeah. Go.
So, of course, like anyone who knows John Muir, he's like the representative that's able that talks on Google updates and he's also on Twitter and helps people to do something. He is terrifying. He will does he know that? What's he like in person?
He's absolutely, he comes across totally different online, and when you meet him in person, he's a totally different person. He's the most friendly, timid guy you'd ever speak to. He's almost scared to talk to you. It's astonishing. Online he'll manhandle you, but when you meet him in person, it's like, oh, can't tell this is the same person. Yeah, he did straight after Google.
Yeah, so I think his wife got sick or something like that.
Yeah.
He decided to leave.
Because I remember Willie Ray shared our US government is sharing that about schema.
Yeah.
There is only one person that would be responsible for that, and it surely is Matt.
Matt, yeah.
Can you imagine the Australian government talking to us about structured data? Sorry. Okay.
One of the other guys I met during this time was actually the SEO for Microsoft.com. And yeah, he'd been there, I think, when I met him, he was there 3 or 4 years. And he was running SEO across the globe for Microsoft. And I said, oh, what about Bing? He said, I don't touch Bing. So Ozpost, so a little bit about Ozpost. They're known as a GBE, Government Business Enterprise, so they're actually not fully owned by the government, but the government's a shareholder, so the main shareholder. So basically any profit that Ozpost turns goes back to the government. So that's why they get scrutinized so much. And no, I didn't get my Cartier watch. So in terms of the size of the business, so 37,000 employees with an extended workforce of 27,000. So basically that's contractors of businesses. So like Ozpost has a delivery network. There's some people who are contractors of that, and then they employ subcontractors to deliver. And that's how that number grows. 20 dedicated aircraft, so 10 of those are actually owned by Ozpost, 10 are chartered. 2,136 EVs. So this is the new foray into sustainability. So Ozpost actually hired a chief sustainability officer for climate change, and it's one of the big agendas for them. So they're trying to reduce the motorcycles and bring in EVs instead. So what does Australia Post do? Any ideas what they do apart from mail? Any guesses?
Deliver Christmas gifts,
Yes.
passports.
Yes.
Oh, you have somebody else that's a billion and all them. Finance.
Yeah. They're basically a supermarket. They do everything under the sun that you can think of. Yeah, like you talk about finance, there's insurance, there's car, home, pet, all those kind of travel insurance, gift cards, prepaid visas, MasterCards, all this, and then passports, license renewals, identity products. There's so many different products, and so basically I used to look after several websites that did all sorts of different things, which is why I lasted 6 years. It's kind of like working in an agency because you're working on different products every day, and they're totally different challenges, totally different things to work on, so it doesn't get boring.
All different technology as well.
Very different technology. So I'll give you an example of one of them. For example, like digital identity which is the latest thing that they rolled out, I think, 2 years ago. That's actually built off of blockchain technology. And so the idea is, you want to open a bank account, you've got to have 100 points of ID, and you're going to go into a bank and show those things. Whereas now with this digital identity product, it's all digital, and you have it on your phone, and you open your bank account through your phone without ever having to deal with going into a branch. And so that's the kind of tech that they're investing in. And SecurePay and Poly are like payment gateways, the likes of PayPal and whatnot. So very different things. Here's some stats for you guys. So 74,000 pieces of plastic diverted from landfill, 25 years with a big issue, 160,000 books to Indigenous communities, 1.4 million mental health resources. And this kind of speaks to some of the sizing. So 5,900 megawatts of solar power. And here's a good picture of one of the planes and the EVs. So basically this was the site now. It kind of looks fairly easy or straightforward, but it's actually not. There's multiple underlying technology under this. And so you've got Shop. The online shop's actually built off e-commerce platform called Intershop. Then you've got the main website, which is here, which is AEM. And then you've got this tracking tool, which is built bespoke. And then you've got, what else do we have? We've got the help and support at the top. That's Salesforce. So, and then under tools, you've got your postcode tool and your post office locator, which are single page applications. So lots of technology into one, under one domain. So it gets very messy when you peel back the layers. Some of the challenges, basically, when I joined 6 years ago, I'd just been told 2 months ago we migrated to Adobe AEM. So, oh, great. Okay. So I had plenty of work there. So there's lots of tech debt that I find with sites like this. Every time we do an upgrade, it took us, just to give you an idea, so Adobe migrated from 6.2 to 6.5. It took us 2 years to migrate from 6.2 to 6.4 because of the tech debt. That's how much cleanup that needed to be done in the backend code, because we've customized the crap out of 6.2. That none of that could be ported to 6.4. And so that's the version upgrade. Now, redirects, I had to manually go through 5,350 redirects to figure out which ones work, which ones don't, and which ones we still need and we don't. Now, the problem with that is every single section in OzPost. So if you look at this website, there's receiving, sending, money, ID. Those are all business units within OzPost. They're teams of people, product, marketing, whatnot. So every time you're pulling stuff out, you've got to deal with each of these teams and tell them you're going to remove some of their stuff. So, like, something as simple as, you click on the menu and you have a drop down, and you have 6 items there. You actually have to go into a meeting to prove why some of those items should be shifted up and down, because there's people who are like, well, that's my product, why should it go down? And it comes down to a lot of data. You've got to prove everything using data.
Who's the chief decision maker in changing the website? Is it someone like the chief technology officer? Is it someone like the product owner?
There's no central point. So the team I used to work for called Digital and Data owns the website. But every product has a stake in the website. So they get to call the shots on how their product is shown, displayed, spoke about, all that. And then marketing has a stake in it, saying, okay, we want to have it designed like this, because we think this is what customers want. We've got data. It's never data. So yeah, that's no, but it's a larger scale. Yeah. So it's a lot of power play, and you really have to prove your point using data.
Are you good at politics?
I became good at politics. Yeah. I wasn't before, but yeah.
How do you get good at politics?
So yeah, that's the thing. So and then the single page applications, everyone's like, oh yeah, let's build this thing. It's faster. It's on React. It's going to be quicker. Guess what? Search engines can't see it. But no one thinks of that when they roll it out. They're like, oh, let's not ask the SEO guy. Let's just roll it out and then figure it out. And so when I get them to peel back stuff and then redo it, that's when it gets annoying. And it was, yeah.
So I think I read an old interview of yours, and you said like it's this when you were there, one of the things you were the most proud of was about like the adoption of understanding and knowledge and things like that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've been able to achieve that to a certain extent, like at Australian Post?
I did within the digital team. I did. So what I did was our digital team was about 170 people, and so I ran a brown bag session where I trained them on the basics of SEO, and most of those guys were developers. And because I was speaking to them like a developer, my background's computer science, so I could. And that's when they started to say, okay, well, this guy actually does know what he's talking about. Maybe it's worth listening to. And so eventually I did get buy-in from the dev team, and it got to a point where they actually started to think about the way they code it. So that was a big advantage for me.
That's awesome. Well done.
So the other thing is, yeah, like I said, teams are separated by verticalization of product. The revenue, basically products that we worked on in SEO is not based on our decision. So we couldn't say, oh, this part of the site's not working for us, it's not really doing much, we need to improve that. It came down to revenue. So the business actually dictated saying, well, this product makes more money than that, so we don't want you to work on that, we need you to work on that, even though that's broken. So it's kind of challenging that way. You kind of have to balance your priorities. So even if you want to work on that, you kind of have to juggle and try and spend time on what's more important to the business. And obviously dev resource, that's one of the hardest things to get within Ozpost. The teams were, again, fractured, so there's not one team working on one thing. So we actually had a separate team for front end, separate team for back end, separate team for apps, and Android app, iOS app, all separate. Consumer app separate, business app separate, and the channels are different as well. So the stakeholders are all different. So you kind of have to regurgitate the same material 6 times to try and make people understand. So that's, yeah, one of the biggest challenges I had when I was there. And obviously our team size, we were 2 people managing a whole lot across the enterprise for an $8 billion business. And, yeah. Well, when I started, to be fair, when I started, it was a $4 billion business. I left at $8 billion. So the business doubled in size, but we didn't. Our team didn't double in size, which is a shame. Yeah, it's always hard to prove that SEO is actually valuable. And I'll put it in my wins section, but one of the biggest things I'm most proud of is the traffic. So when I got there, it was like probably 33 million. I left at 110 million SEO visits. So it's pretty big. So migrations, I did probably two big migrations there. So the online shop, which is our retail store, used to be on the subdomain the entire time I was there. And then finally we got business case approval to uplift the store. And as part of that, I actually got them to think about moving the entire store, not just design and uplift, but change and move it. And so I got it to be a subdirectory within the main site. And straight after migration, traffic is going up, and you're like, oh, we should have this before. Luckily, we did this pre-COVID, and then it just started going up.
So you're firmly folders versus supplement, you're filling the folder side.
I'm on the folder side. When you have a site as big as Ozpost with the domain authority and the backlinks, why would you focus on the subdomain?
How long was the project? Or such a big?
The migration was actually 8 months, including all design, design uplift, approvals from all the stakeholders, and then actually rolling it out.
Were you nervous when it first started launching?
Yeah. So we did our rollout. I remember it clearly. We did our rollout on Monday morning at Monday morning.
Monday morning.
6 a.m. or something?
Yeah, 6 a.m. 6 a.m. Monday morning. We're in the office. My boss is there. He's like, got coffees for everyone, and we're just waiting. We're just standing there like, anytime now.
Yeah, it's like DNS propagates. It's okay.
Yeah, so DevOps did the propagation, switched the site, and
Post on Sundays.
no, we never do releases on a weekend.
Nah,
There's always Tuesday, Monday, or Thursday.
the best days where you can roll back and pick the panic button and figure it out.
Who needs to make sure that everything works?
Who?
Yeah.
Different people actually. So DevOps does the DNS side of things, and then you've got the tech team which manages the platform itself. And then you've got the software guys who actually work on the front end, so make sure the front end work on the URLs, redirects, all that. So it's like chains of people that are waiting.
It's not just you.
No.
It's like, everyone's fine. Go.
And we were just there on standby, making sure that, because as soon as that swap over happened, we submitted sitemaps and just started to see what happened. And fortunately, we were on a priority crawl or something, because we always got crawl as soon as we submitted.
I always do think the opposite. I always like don't support submit things until I'm confident everything's fine. And like, yep, go nuts.
Yeah.
Like I always check redirects and stuff first and making sure that nothing's broken. Because like, yeah, I've had migrations where the front end guys messed up the URLs, and I actually have to tell people to stop following the website, like half stop it and like fix it first, then actually do it.
So what we did was we did a screening for crawl of the new site, and then as soon as that came back confirmed, we just pushed.
Hit the button.
How long will it take to screen for?
Not that long actually. The product side is only, believe it or not, only 5,000 products. So yeah, probably 10,000 URLs at best. So it wasn't much.
Good. If you have a good laptop, you can do it.
Yeah. So it wasn't bad. It wasn't actually too bad. Not like Census when we used to leave the calls overnight.
Like pray it doesn't crash.
So that's interesting actually. We actually had screening for running off a server because no local machine could handle the load. So we actually built it and integrated it onto a server to then run off that and could
You didn't have an enterprise call?
we couldn't run enterprise crawlers there because there's no budget. We were owned
You were
by
doing it via the log file.
we were owned by a private equity company. There was no money.
Geez, sir, can I have some more URLs?
They were stripping back the business.
Like when you're doing that, did people think you were DDoSing your own website? Like the other IT people like had to be informed that you're doing a screening cloud thing and stuff?
Yeah.
Because I've had that happen to me where I get 4 or 3 because like, oh, someone's DDoSing.
First time I did it, we actually had, the Google capture you get when you search? First time I did that, the entire building had that capture. I got told off for it.
Oh man.
I was told never do that again. I said, okay, cool. So we actually had to spin up a separate instance of the server outside of the VPN to then run Screaming Frog. Yeah, so biggest thing I learned at Ozpost was probably stakeholder management was one of the major things I learned. And in terms of ways of working, we actually established a good cadence around it. So I actually created a Jira stream for our project. So SEO actually had a service desk item on Jira where people could raise tickets and say, okay, can you work on this, or can you investigate this, or can you research this, or can you get us a report on this? So there's multiple things that people could do. And it gave us a way of actually validating the work we did, because on the back we could t-shirt size each item and then talk about how long it takes to deliver. And at the end of the year, we could actually go back to the business and say, look, this is how much throughput we had. And so that was probably one of the biggest things that came out of the Agile. Yeah.
How long after your education piece did those tickets start coming through?
Pretty much straight away, yeah. Because some devs were, as soon as I was talking through it, their tickets are turning in there, they're like, oh yeah, I need to go back to my desk, look at this and submit. And so it came straight away. Like, as soon as people realize what's wrong, they start to look at it in a different way. And we had a lot of crossover with paid search at Ozpost. So I actually used to manage paid search at Ozpost. However, that got taken away through a restructure, and then we ended up still colluding, and we used to meet at least once a fortnight to try and figure out how budgets are reallocated, so that, because SEO was bigger, much bigger than paid search. And you wouldn't believe, like, for a company the size of Ozpost, the paid search budget's probably less than $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're talking like competitive stuff like finance, travel, prepaid cards, insurance. But yeah, the footprint of SEO was that large that they didn't need to spend that much. And yeah, we used Spotify, which was a tool put in probably 2.5, 3 years ago. It was probably one of the first uptakes of Spotify here in the country. And really, really good tool. I actually really enjoyed using that. Connected log files to that, connected Adobe Analytics, and the data you get out of that is insane, insane data. You can actually pinpoint which pages work, where, how, when it was last crawled, how much traffic, and you can actually scale and see where the page rank changes when you move the page. So it's, yeah, I can't speak highly enough of the data you get through that. I can't tell you because I was on a legacy plan, and you probably won't get the rate I got. So even if I tell you, you won't get the rate I got.
So get in early.
Yeah, be an early adopter. I actually researched them several years ago, and then I contacted them. They didn't contact us. We actually went after them, and they said, "Oh, we don't actually have any offices there." But we managed to get some sort of agreement signed and whatnot and onboarded. And yeah, that's when I saw the value for it, and I think that's when they saw that.
Yes.
There's people here who want this. Yeah.
That's like, well, that's our market. Let's go.
Yeah.
So you highly recommend it, right?
I actually do. I actually rate it quite highly in terms of the capability. Maybe it's overpriced now, but back when I got it for the value I got, it was, yeah, ridiculous.
It's simple to implement, like all the different departments, the technology and stuff.
Very simple, yeah. Surprisingly. Yeah, all I had to do was, so what I did was, for the log files, we actually got S3 bucket set up for all the log files to be put into the S3. And then Spotify was able to connect to the S3 bucket with a token and grab the log files, and then we integrated Adobe Analytics to the live feed, so overnight feed of traffic data into Spotify, because they didn't have any integrations with Adobe. They only have GA. They're building Adobe now. But it worked. It actually worked. Yeah. So, yeah, mind-blowing, but it was really good data. I think you would love it because of the patterns. There's a lot of patterns.
Connect the dots.
Yeah. So priorities-wise, the way we used to figure it out was, either revenue, urgency, like how badly is it broken, or what's the scope, like how big is the scope of the work. Ozpost was in the habit of developing new products all the time. You might have heard of some of them. Shipster, anyone know Shipster? Yeah, heard of that? Yeah. So the best thing I used to love about Ozpost is they would come up with these marketing names before they wrote domain names. And then it would be my problem after that. It was fun. They'd come up with a name that everyone's on board, all the stakeholders have been told about it, and then they come to me like, "How can you buy these domain names?" They're not available. And I'd send them back to the drawing board for half the stuff. And yeah, they used to hate me because of that. But yeah, it got to a point where they realized, let's first research these names before we actually get ahead. And I think one of the best things was learning more about the .brand and how that works, and applying cybersecurity technology into that. So we actually implemented SAML into the .brand on the actual TLD, at the TLD level. So anytime you create a new domain, it's automatically employing the SAML of the parent. And yeah, reporting was very big in Ozpost. Like, people love to know numbers about their own products. They didn't care about the wider business or total traffic. It was all about separate business streams. So there's a lot of traffic, but actually minute level. So like, how is police checks doing? How is insurance doing? And so you actually have to do reports to different deep level stuff. Yeah. And I worked on probably 2 or 3 projects with Dan's team from DJI, because I couldn't handle the load. Like, there was just so much throughput. Actually, I outsourced some of my stuff to them.
You only have 2 people, right? Like, you have to.
Yeah. And everyone wants everything tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
What tools did you use for reporting?
Oh.
What did you use for your stakeholder reporting? What do you guys use for reporting?
Adobe Analytics. Yeah. Just workspace and dashboards to that. Yeah.
So what was it like going back to this, saying, hey, there's only 2 of us, we need to have an agency here to take this side of the load. Like, how did you get, like, how did you facilitate that conversation?
It was easy to prove because of data, because of Jira. I could do a report on Jira saying, here's our throughput for the last 2 years. This is what we've been able to do, using our t-shirt sizing and stuff, and say, okay, this is the extra work you're asking us to do. Based off of this data, this will take me 3 months. Yeah. So it's data again. Wins, probably that Google My Business connection was a big one. Selfish, but it worked. Establishing processes. So we never had these processes at Ozpost around SEO for Jira on the service desk, none of that. So all that needed to be set up. No one had thought it through. No one considered SEO when they were building the site, as usual.
What did SEO look before you came to Ozpost? Like, what was it like? Did they have like some general idea or just nothing?
There was a guy who was running it before me, and all he used to do was predominantly work on insurance products. Like, he used to spend all his time on insurance products, and there was no Google My Business, there was no domain strategy, and yeah. So when I kind of came along, all that started to evolve, because there was never consideration. Like he was basically, when the business told him, you need to work on this, he would go. Yeah.
So he just did what he was told rather than actually
Pretty much.
doing the research and saying, no, we actually have to focus on this.
Yeah, he didn't actually come up with his own strategy saying this is what we need to focus on and this is how we actually leverage SEO to grow. So it was a different mindset when I came along and I said, oh, hang on, I'm not going to do what you guys are telling me. I'm going to create my own strategy. And first thing I did was I spent the first 3 weeks IA mapping the entire website and then looking at and showing that to the designers and showing them, oh, this is what's wrong with the site. And they're like, oh, no one's ever done this before. So it was a change in mindset for them. Oh, this one you're going to love. So before I actually came along, so marketing used to do custom campaign-based projects where they used to, like Mother's Day, they would do a campaign with polish up articles, put them on campaign landing pages, and send them out through social media, through paid search. Soon as Mother's Day is over, delete all the pages. So it's like 20, 30 grand worth of creative and content. Done, gone, see you later.
So when you talk to them about evergreen charity, they're like, oh, what?
What's that? So I came along and I said, we need to set up these things called blogs because you can't keep doing this.
Reduce, reuse, and recycle.
Yeah. So like, you know, and it paid off in the first year. Like once they did the Mother's Day, the next time, and then the following Mother's Day came up and they could see that this page is already ranking. It's already there. They just need to update the content. So less work, but yeah, those fun times. I actually set up 4 different blogs there. One for travel insurance because we only had like 2 pages for travel insurance as a product, and you were expected to compete against full-fledged websites like, you know, One Travel and One Cover and whatnot. And so we created these pages around travel insurance in the blog section and actually ran a competition in the company. And so I ran this competition saying, because everyone's got a travel story, right? Everyone's been somewhere. I said, okay, here's a competition. Give me an 800-word article of your best trip, where you went, what you did. And I got like stacks of content. What I had to do was, I gave someone a $500 card as a reward. There you go. So I got like 30, 40 pages worth of content for $500. And then all I,
Company budget or is it out of your pocket?
no, company budget.
There we go. That's
Nice clean URLs. No.
And it was one of these prepaid visas that we used to sell in the retail store.
Looks like one minus inventory.
So we got that, and basically all I had to do was take that content to our content team, and they just added the brand tone of voice, and we started publishing. Next thing you know, we started ranking for travel. So that was one of the fun things for the blogs.
What year was that?
As soon as I started 6 years ago, I set that was my first blog. Then after that, I did one for B2B. I did one for shopping offers. The redirect cleanup project, that was painful. Search traffic growth, so that went from 30 to 100 million. Migrations, that's pretty much my journey there. Any questions?
What platform do you guys use for the blog?
What?
What platform do you guys use for the blog?
It was AEM. Yeah, it's part of
all
AEM.
AEM on the front end of the website.
So the only things that were different was our help and support, which was Salesforce, because it was integrated into the call center. Actually, that's still one of my most painful things. It's a bad memory, and we have all this content in the help and support side of Salesforce, none of it is indexable because it's Salesforce. And the way it's built is the Salesforce doesn't allow it to be crawled and indexed. And it actually, yeah.
It can't be called, can just be used as a blog posting, because like Google hasn't seen it, so it's still unique content.
It is unique content, but the problem is there's thousands of articles in there, which would mean having someone to actually recreate that entire piece in AEM. Yeah. And then every time it gets updated. Sorry?
I'm guessing some of those gets updated time to time.
Yeah, that's the thing. You've got
So
you
like,
to
there's no
update
like
two
ownership,
places.
like content ownership, who owns this content, it lives
Yeah.
here.
So, yeah, that's.
So it's or it's more content than.
I did zero link building at Ospost because just we had links from government sites, and that's like the goal. Government sites, EDU.
Did you at least try outreach as Ozpost? Like, hey, I'm Ozpost.
I actually did that. So we actually did a proper link building project for our police checks product. So we were launching this product called International Police Checks. And the way Ozpost used to do it was there's this company called Fit to Work, which does digital police checks. So we used to buy police checks off them. They used to do the actual police check and they give us a cut off the money. What we did was we pissed them off by building our own gateway straight to the government to check directly with them and pocket the money ourselves. And so we were competing with these guys directly now for the sun. But we built this international one and there was no backlinks to this brand new section of the website. I actually had to do outreach for that. So it's fun, but yeah, it's a lot of different challenges. So yeah, any questions? Any other? Yeah.
If knowing what you know now, what would you say to yourself 6 years ago, like to really help you do certain things when you just started?
Don't take the job.
That's spicy.
I'd probably go back to myself and try and work out this the content strategy better. Yeah, because there was actually no defined content strategy. People used to build content the way they felt like. There was a content team, but there was no guidance around any direction where you should build that content or what for. Yeah.
Well, that being said, like going from like 33 million to like
110 million.
110 million in traffic from an organic is massive.
Yeah, it was huge. But
Yeah.
I think if we did that content better 6 years ago, I think that trajectory would have been bigger.
You needed your own SEO meetup within Ozpost.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the competition like? Like, is everyone else in that space as serious about SEO as you were handling, or is everyone kind of like monkeying around? Like, they're all big companies, like different industries, or some more serious than others? Like,
Different feelings. So we did. So one of the products we do is Western Union, and so we actually offer Western Union money transfer inside the post office. So it was like a contra deal between Western Union and Ozpost. The funny thing was they got Western Union to, Western Union actually provided them an SEO strategy, which was about building traffic. And when they sent it to me, they said, oh yeah, we've got an SEO guy, we'll give it to him. And I read through that strategy. There was nothing about growth for Ozpost. It was all about growing Western Union. It actually, literally, no joke, it actually said you need to build backlinks from your post office pages to Western Union. No joke. Yeah.
that's a good way to get things.
Yeah, like 15,000 only.
Well, old man before you who used to just
You would have done
whatever
it.
the business said.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, that was challenging there.
What are your top 5 SEO tools?
Obviously, butterfly.
What if
Okay, no, butterfly.
SEMrush, Keyword Planner.
You can't Excel as an SEO tool.
More of an analysis tool rather than an SEO tool.
It's a plugin, my friend.
It's your tools for itself.
Yeah, SEO tools for itself.
I've tried it. I've tried it.
Try it.
It's, I'd probably say that was one. Yeah.
Let's see, what's the funnest thing for you working on a site that large? 'Cause I feel like there's so many URLs, it's so massive.
Yeah.
And working with sites that large, sometimes it's hard to work out where do you even start, or how do you even prioritize things, or essentially where do you start? Like, what do you enjoy most about working on that site?
Probably, so that was actually smaller than where I came from. So I came
Like yellow
from
pages or something.
Census, which was 25 million page websites. So this was actually smaller, and I was like, oh, this is good. I can actually make sense of this. But for me, the fun part is the IA structure, the site structure. That's probably the best thing I love about looking at websites is the IA structure and how things connect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
How much of the SEO you do is like programmatic? Like you talk to developers, like, oh, we have this pattern or this section of the website. We have can we have a template for page titles, and descriptions, or content, or something like that? Is there like a program, like especially for census?
that was a lot of that was programmatic because
Yeah.
Every page was template driven.
Yeah.
So there was no bespoke pages. So a lot of that was dynamic content insertion. So we actually had to create rules around content saying, okay, well, we had the data because we knew, okay, there's X number of plumbers in Richmond who do X services. So we actually created dynamic content saying you can now contact a plumber out of 6,000 X from Richmond who will be able to plug a leak, fix a drain, unblock your toilet, etc. So we created that type of content. Yeah.
What's your traffic breakdown? Like you said, most of the traffic is SEO, right? Is it 80, 20%?
So total traffic, we were actually about 40% in terms of OSPOS, 40% from a channel perspective. Because total site traffic was 400 million. Biggest of that is direct. It's people going into that tracking box, typing their number. That's
SEO like search would have like massive impact on branded search.
How much?
What's the brand
SEO?
I think
How much is
40.
percentage?
40% of
What's the conversion from that?
Conversion was difficult for us to measure because of the variance in products. So the mindset of the customer journey for someone coming to buy not to buy insurance is very different from someone coming to renew their passport or coming to buy products from an online shop or coming to.
You had different benchmarks for different products?
There wasn't, we couldn't baseline because we couldn't really track it to that nth degree that, okay, this person actually came from SEO, went to the website, actually did a form fill for a passport. Yeah.
And there is a strategy, like, because you have all the search
Yeah.
to use the tracking.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Are you sending people to another services or products?
On the page?
No, on the tracking.
We did, yeah. So like for our mail redirect product we had, which was basically when you move home, you apply for this form online, and all your post goes to your new house address instead. So in case you've forgotten some of it, so that stuff. There was actually, they wanted us not to send people to the form, which is where you mark a conversion. They actually wanted us to land people on the landing page before you get to the form because they wanted to pre-route and triage the customer journey from there. Because you have different layers of, are you a concession, are you a business, are you a consumer? And then you had to triage from there because if you went straight to the form, you can't triage.
Did you have to sabotage yourself intentionally?
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
because of that customer journey.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like you feel like search itself is intent, but because I guess they have a business case for that.
Yeah.
And there's no, I'm guessing there's no competitors for that particular query.
Not for that,
So,
sure.
yeah.
If you had to attribute the success of the growth, what would be like your top 5 optimization? Like, would it be the blogs, or would it be the technical SEO, or would it be the homepage?
Probably content would be first. Creating good content, and I think I reverberate what you just said earlier about building great content. You can't second guess that. You can't re-engineer that through AI. That's not something you can do. Yeah. And then after that would be the technical aspects of making all these technologies sync up and work together. Yeah. It's a minefield when you get to that, because you have new developers, they've got new ideas, they're great with new technology. Like, this guy's like, I can make this for you in React in 2 days. They don't understand the impact. Yeah.
I mean, we told about being working on a huge side and have so many strategy sections, something which you might have so many planning, which didn't go as you planned.
Which strategy didn't go?
As you planned after having so many AI stuff, intelligence, everything.
Yeah.
There will be something which might not go on as expected or gone completely other way around. Is there anything like that?
Actually, probably the one that I couldn't figure out or couldn't hack was the enterprise website, because the customer journey was very different to retail. So the enterprise website, we actually migrated that from a separate domain into the main website, but the way that was used was actually like a catalog. It was like a brochure. When you think about the products that were on there, they're used to deal with like C-suite people of big companies or corporates with more than 5,000 employees, where no one's going to buy something online. They don't care about what. This was more about education. So they go to the C-suite guys, they take them out for dinner, they talk to them about the product, they tell them about how they can make life easier for them, and then they say, oh, here's a link to the website. You can go and read more about this. We have some case studies. And so growing traffic to that website from SEO never worked for me.
Well, it could be just one channel for that particular audience. Like, cause that,
Yeah.
I mean, you say like subdomain, well, that's actually, if it's not the right traffic, then maybe
Yeah.
subdomain is perfect for that enterprise or hospital.
Which is why we had it as a separate domain to begin with,
Yeah.
because I knew that was never going to work in the main site. And yeah, because at the end of the day, you've got your C-suite, then you've got middle management, and you've got your lower level people who will actually go into the detail of that website to read the content and the technical documentation. But anyone above that's not even looking, and that's the guy they're targeting. So it never worked.
More CRM, sales team people, it's more
Yeah.
important like SEO. Right? Like, it's not like the CEO of a company so Google and it's like,
No.
oh yeah, let's go, yeah.
Yeah, no.
How did COVID impact priority and pacing?
Not much actually.
What about Google My Business? That's interesting.
Google My Business was already in place well before, so we actually had that running probably 2 years before COVID even came around, and our online shop was already migrated, so we already set up on a new platform. We had good SEO foundations, so as soon as COVID hit, the traffic just started building, and we didn't really need to do anything to fix or change tack.
You had like things like click and collects with GMBs?
No, we didn't. Because the problem with Ozpost is it's difficult to do that kind of thing, because the post offices, there's 3 or 4 different kinds. There's the LPO, which is licensed, so franchised. There's a community one, CPAs. There's the brand-owned ones, which are owned by Ozpost. And then there's the other ones where you've got your milk bar / post office, because it's like a combined business where there's no one else willing to do that job in a rural area, small town. So it's kind of hard to do that click and collect, because some of these guys don't offer those services. Like for example, passports, you can only get them done in certain places. Or if that licensee has volunteered himself to do it. And the way that it works is, if you're a licensee and you offer a certain service, you get paid commission for that. But you've got to train your staff for it. So that's an overhead. So not everyone offers it.
If you were to give an advice to like a new person
Who's joining SEO?
like who
A
wants
new
to
one,
learn
a new one.
somebody new
Don't do it, get out.
I'd probably say like get a mentor. Like that's probably my biggest advice is get a mentor.
Oh, come to SEO Collective.
Because SEO has come such a long way from when I started. It's impossible to go back and read the history and read about all this stuff and kind of figure out what's bullshit and what's not. You can't really, for a new person, it's like snake oil. You could sell them anything. And so I would, my recommendation would be get a mentor because it's hard to do it by yourself when you're starting this late.
Things in SEO change so fast, so you would have to unlearn a lot of things as well.
Mm.
So it's a good place to start there because you can start there.
Not really, because the fundamental stuff still works.
Yeah, still search.
Like you can't argue with good content, you can't argue with good IA, good backlinks. So
There would be a process to kind of get those things in place.
yeah.
Like, again, like, a lot of things would still change as well.
With the customer journey mapping, do you have a lot of say in that these days, and how long would it have taken you to get that point in the room for it?
Yeah, I actually do. I actually did a course on customer journey mapping. And so then because of that validation, I could then sit in the room and provide recommendations. So sometimes you have to kind of see what the problem is, go sideways to learn something else, to then be invited in.
Secondary question, what was that for?
Tertiary question, can you please come back and
Share all your secrets, like.
I did a lot of that. I actually enjoy customer journey mapping a lot. And design as well. I actually enjoy design, looking at frameworks and wireframes. So I think to your point for SEO, you actually have to enjoy it to do it. That would be the first thing I'd advise that person.
I love hate making.
Yeah.
Do you guys use any like heat mapping tools or?
No, not at all. Not at all.
It was based on data.
Yeah, it was all database. Yeah. I think we tried implementing Crazy Egg. But yeah, well,
So why was Spotify easy and this one hard? Like Crazy is hard to Spotify.
because it's actually real time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like hits or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah.
And then it's also about data sharing. Ospost is very careful about what they share with who. And because my SEO tool needed no PII, it was just publicly available information. It's a no-brainer. Yeah. So there's actually a cyber. So Ospost is one of the top 5 most spammed business in Australia in terms of hits, cyber attacks, all that. So we actually have a cyber security unit that I used to work very closely with because of domain strategy. So I actually did a lot of that stuff with them. Yeah.
So what does that look like with setting up the firewalls and making sure that like you can understand what interaction is a bot and what interaction is a real user?
Yeah. So we actually implemented proof point for email spam. So try and figure out who's trying to do to us what they did to Toll, the ransomware attack. That was we got hit by that stuff first, but it never came through because of our penetration. So we had a lot of firewalls and stuff in there, whereas Toll didn't have half that stuff, and they got hit. And Yeah.
So how many people in your cybersecurity unit are for that?
It's a team of 8.
8.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
And they do everything from domain security, email spoofing, active cyber threats, and from my side, we used to actually monitor fraudulent products as well. So from the domain strategy side, we would come across websites which were pretending to be Ozpost, which we would then take down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was part of the SEO unit.
Really? Yeah. And you have to work.
Cyber takedowns.
You have to work a lot with like vendors and third-party providers and stuff of services. Like you have to talk to like consultants or whoever, or do you try to do stuff in-house when possible?
So that's all outsourced. So like you deal with, so we had a domain registrar, and we dealt with the domain registrar. We just say, okay, these 10 websites have come up, take them down. Here you go.
All right, and that is the last question. Thank you so much. Have a show, everybody. All right, I'm double parked. Amazing. Thank you so much for that. Like I was saying before, he came up, Kavit is an absolute legend in the industry, as you can already tell. He has so much experience. He's literally been at the cold face of doing a lot of incredible work that has absolutely just changed the face for Australia Post and for census and pretty much everything that he's lended his expertise and his time to. So thank you so much for coming here tonight. Of course, I would have loved to share the poster, but I actually haven't created it yet. But next month, the first Tuesday of every month, as per normal, we will be again coming here again, and we'll be having. But he is the in-house SEO at Flipper. So Flipper, for anyone who is heavy and deep into affiliate marketing, who's always looking for a really great opportunity to go in, buy a domain, flip it around, and flip it and reverse it and make some cash money. This is a really, really great opportunity to talk to somebody who is looking across all of these different types of sites. And of course, again, at the coalface of really making sure that flipper.com is the #1 for people to be able to find those opportunities. So really, really going to be blessed with another incredible person coming in and sharing their expertise with us. And thank you so much for coming here tonight to SEO Collective. Thank you so much to EasyGo, and thank you so much to Paxos Recruitment. And of course to all of our wonderful board members who have made this incredibly possible. So thank you very much to Peter Michingovich, to Jason Polidorus, to Peter Mead, to Paula, to Saijo, to golly, so many of us, to Chris, to Pam, to Dan, and a whole bunch of others, because there's so many people behind the scenes that make this all possible.
There's a lot of grinding.
Just neat face analogies, mate.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Now the networking shall begin as per normal. Cue the mariachi music. Thank you. Woo-hoo!